Hello everyone, this is Zombie Kids Rules, and I'm back with a fifth video in the RPG Maker MZ tutorial series, my series on dialogue options. And this is the third time I'm trying to make this video, because the first time I caught a mistake, and then the second time I realized while I was watching it to review, I didn't explain something. I did explain it in a previous tutorial, but I really need to highlight it again. So this is the third attempt. Um, as I've said before, these are not fancy videos, right? I am not an expert. These are just some ways to do different things that might help newer folks out like me. So as I learn things, as I explore, as I experiment, and if I succeed in doing something and I haven't found a tutorial and I think it might help other people, I will put these videos out. Um, I do want to say a big thank you to the content creators that have been out there making content for quite a long time. There was people who have done a ton of tutorials on RPG Maker MV, and most of those tutorials work perfectly fine with MZ. And then there were people who stepped up and started making tutorials when MZ first came out, which was awesome. Those have been very helpful for me as well. And then of course there's always new folks, getting involved and starting to make videos, and all of those are very helpful. I search for RPG Maker videos all the time. I have like I think 4,000 that I have saved, and I'm slowly going through and watching to learn more things. And I should make a mention here. I do not use plugins at this moment, so it is very possible that a lot of this stuff it can be done in a plugin. There may be a plugin out there about dialogue and things that does a lot of this. I just don't use plugins yet because I want to learn what the engine itself can do, everything that's capable of doing being built within the engine before I start messing around with what plugins can do. So I hope these are helpful for people. Again, I'm just doing this to. The way I figure it is, the more videos that are out there, the greater chance somebody will find what they need. There's four other videos. If you have just stumbled across this, I hope you watch the earlier ones because they do kind of build on themselves. Kind of build on each other. We started off with the very, very basic stuff. We did, progressing, text options through variable use, through event pages. We, used common events. We used random dialogue selection, personalization, and now this video is going to be focusing on influencing what somebody says by, say, for instance, time of day. And so there could be a lot of things that could influence, and you might want the events, the NPCs, to say different things based on different factors. I just chose time of day as an easy concept to demonstrate. And then also in regard to, like, say, romance or relationship or reputation, those type of systems, I just conceptually did something where this NPC is going to flirt with the party. So, you could take that and run with it and do all kinds of stuff with it, but I just wanted to show one sample, which is this flirtation dialogue and flavor text. And so with that being said, don't please don't judge too harshly. I did not invest a lot of time, just like I don't make a lot of time with the maps and make them all fancy, and I don't have an intro and animations and stuff. I didn't invest a lot of time in writing this flavor text. So I just wanted something that didn't sound completely crazy or not just didn't sound right. But I didn't invest a lot of time, so I just wanted to get something out there to show the concepts. So I will show first how it performs in the playtest, and then we'll break it down of what actually is going on behind the scenes. So we're going to talk to this girl, and her name is Flirting Girl for now. We don't know who she is. She says a greeting, good day, and then we have our flavor text. The girls, right, identifying her as a girl. We don't know who she is yet. The girl's cheeks flush a bit as she smiles sweetly. And then she's going to say something. I can show you around if you want. That's a random flirtation. And then we're going to have flavor text. She tosses her hair and bats her eyelashes, and then she says a farewell. And we're reusing the greeting and the farewell from previous tutorials. Now it's going to change. She's going to change how she does things. Now her name is Sky. So the presumption is we talked to her, we learned her name, and now she has a name. She says hello again. She says good day. Then there's this flavor text. Now, the flavor text is identifying her by her name. Sky toys absently with a strand of her hair. Then she's going to say something randomly again. You look so strong. And then we're going to use a pronoun for the flavor text. Her hand raises quickly to cover her lips. And then she's going to say a goodbye, a farewell, safe travels. Now it's going to progress one more time, and it's basically going to just it's going to be randomly deciding whether it's going to use a flirtatious flavor text that identifies the NPC by name or whether it identifies by pronoun. And it's going to choose each time whether the name comes first or the pronoun and vice versa. So, oh my, a group of adventurers, how exciting, that's her greeting. And now it randomly decided we're going to use the pronoun first. Her hand rises quickly to cover her lips. You look so strong, and now it's going to use her name. Sky toys absently with a strand of her hair. Safe travels. And that's going to randomly do that for however long we talk to her now. So we're going to go over to the signpost, and we're going to make it morning. So now it tells us it's morning, and we want her to say something, a different greeting when it's morning. I just love early mornings. Her hand rises quickly to cover her lips. Aren't you a breath of fresh air? Sky toys absently with a strand of her hair. You're going to see repeats, but these are because there's like random 5 options. Until next time, it's still morning. Getting an early start today. Her hand rises quickly to cover her lips. Aren't you a breath of fresh air? Sky glances about as if she's looking to see if anyone can hear what she's about to say. Until we meet again. Now we want it to be evening. So we're going to interact with that sign again. It turns it to evening. Now she's going to greet us a little differently. Isn't it a beautiful evening? She wets her lips with the tiniest hint of a smile. I hope you plan to stay a while. Sky's cheeks color in a beautiful shade of pink. Goodbye. And we're going to try one more time. I hope you had a good day today because it's evening. Sky, now it's her name first. Sky glances like, she wants to know if someone's watching her. I can show you around if you want. Her hair seems to sparkle with a luster all its own. Safe travels. And then we're going to turn it back to just any other time of day, and it will repeat through. Well, hello there. Her fingers absently trace the outline of the necklace that rests tantalizingly just above the bodice of her blouse. That was a new one. Aren't you a breath of fresh air? Sky tilts her head ever so slightly and gazes demurely at you from beneath her soft, silky bangs. That might have been new this time. And until next time. So that's how this is set up. So we're going to go ahead and stop that. We'll cover the signpost first. This is not a day-night system, so the game is not tracking passage of time and turning it day and night and afternoon. This is just a quick testing thing where you need a way of turning night or day, evening on or off, so that you can influence the dialogue for testing purposes. So we're just using switches here. The first time we touch the sign, the control switch number 10 for morning is going to be turned on. It's going to tell us what it did because for testing purposes, I often put things in there to let me know what's happening. Sometimes I'll put text in there to show the results of the random roll because I want to see that it's randomly rolling and what it's getting and making sure that it's what I told it to do. And then it's going to turn the control self switch A on so it will advance the page. You'll also notice that this is direction fixed down here because we don't want the sign to move when we click on it from different angles. Page 2 is essentially the same thing, but self switch A is on. And what it's going to do is control switch 11 evening is going to be turned on. Control switch 10 morning is going to be turned off. It's going to tell us what it did, and then it's going to turn self switch B on so that it can advance the page. And so when we come back to this one, it's going to essentially turn evening off. It's going to tell us that it did something, and then it's going to turn the self switch A and B off so that it moves it back to page 1, and we could do it all over again if we needed to do so in our testing. So that's the simple sign to progress it so that we'll get different greetings based on time of day. Then with the NPC, we have 3 different pages here, and the over here on this side is set up pretty much like all the other tutorials. Common event greeting 1, that was covered in a previous tutorial. It's going to go out, randomly decide what to say, save using a script. It's going to save text in a variable and come back and present that as variable 5. Then it's going to do the flavor text, right? And then it's going to call a common event for flirting. And that's going to go out. It's going to, again, save text using a script, going to save a text in a variable and come back and present that text. Then it's going to do flavor text, and then it's going to go out and get that farewell, which was in another tutorial, and present that farewell. And then it's naming this NPC. So, you could obviously name within each event, you could name them for if you want to use it as a variable. You could always randomize the names, and that's in another tutorial coming up. But for this purpose, I just wanted to be able to show that you can use either a name or a pronoun. So I just named her Sky, and then term self-switch A on, which advances the page. So now we have self-switch A. This page is now the one that's active. And when we're on this page, they're going to do the greeting, just like it did before. Then there's going to be a new common event, flirting name. And that's just saying that the flavor text is going to use the name of the NPC and insert it into the flavor text. Then it's going to use the common event for flirting. And you notice with this one here, flirting name, it's not coming back and then using a text show text command, because the common event is displaying the text. And we can have the common event display the text because we're not using the person's photo, right? And so, maybe there's a way to call that up in there. I don't know how to do it right now. It just is easier when you want to show the picture of the person with their name to do it in the map event, because you already have it, versus the common event. So in this one, the common event is actually displaying the flavor text before it comes back to this event, which is then just going to trigger another common event. Down here, the flirting pronoun, it's the same as the name, only as you saw, it uses a pronoun instead of the NPC name of Sky. And again, the common event, flirting pronoun, is going to display the text that's chosen randomly, then come back here so that this event can call the common event farewell. And then that will actually bring back text saved in a variable 5 to display. And then it's going to do the control self-switch B on so we can move the page forward, because this is the portion of it where it's going to randomly decide whether the flavor text is going to use the name first or the pronoun first. And it can switch back and forth every time you activate this page. So the greeting starts, then we randomly do a number between 1 and 2. If it's 1, then it will do the flirting flavor text of name first. Then it'll do the regular flirting dialogue that Sky says. Then it'll use the flirting pronoun. Else, so if it's not 1, it will be else. So if it's 2, it will do this. It will do the pronoun first. Then it'll do the regular flirting common event dialogue, and then it'll do the flirting name as the second choice. And then it'll do the farewell. So every time we click on this event, every time we select this when this page is activated, it's going to randomly decide whether it's going to do flavor text of name and then pronoun, or pronoun and then name. And you could go crazy with this. You could do all kinds of stuff. You could be very inventive. This is just the simple basic functionality. So this is the map event. And then we need to look at the common events. So when we go to common events, the first thing that I forgot to do in the last video that I'm redoing now is to show this if morning is on and if evening is on. So it's calling greeting 1, and the first thing that greeting 1 does is say, hey, is the switch morning on? Because if it is, I'm going to actually send you to a different common event, greeting 1 morning. And then I'm going to exit this because it's going to do what I want it to do, and I'm going to send you back to the map event. Or if morning isn't on, it's going to check to see, is evening on? Is that switch on? And if it is, then it's going to send you to a common event for greeting 1 evening. And then it's going to exit so that it sends you back to the map event. And if neither one of these is on switches, then it does its just regular random greeting text, which was in another video. And then, so here, I didn't actually show this before either, but this is just the different options for if it's morning and you're saying hello, and if it's evening if you're saying hello. So the options are it's going to random roll, and it's going to save this text in a variable. And remember, I covered this before, but if you want to save text in a variable, you simply use the script option, and anything that is within quotation marks is going to be what is displayed if you use that, if you present that variable in a show text command. So anything within the quotation marks will be what is displayed. And so we have good morning. Isn't it a beautiful morning? A blessed morning to you. I just love early mornings. Getting an early start today. So that's all the morning options. Just again very quickly. Then evening, good evening. Isn't it a beautiful evening? Evenings are so peaceful here. I hope you had a good day today. It's almost dinner time. And again, your imagination is the only limit here. And then you might have different ones. You might have morning greetings that are matched with flirtation, because maybe you want flirting morning greetings in addition to just regular ones. So anyway, it's up to you. Then over here, we have the flirting actual dialogue. This is saving this text in a variable number 7 so that it can be taken back to the map event so that it can show the NPC's photo and her name in along with the show text box. So we have these different options here. We saw most of these when we were doing the play test. I don't, do you think I'm pretty? I can show you around if you want. You look so strong. I hope you plan to stay a while. Aren't you a breath of fresh air? And then we have the flirting by name, and then the flirting by pronoun. The flirting by name is going to randomly decide what the number is. And then the only difference here is you notice that it's using this variable 20, which was sky that we used in the event, and we present that as the name in the text. So /v brackets 20 is going to be Sky toys absently with a strand of her hair. And you noticed here that you can essentially use this apostrophe s right with that variable, and it works. It's grammatically correct. So you do have to be careful when you're designing these to make sure that your whatever appears when you test it, it's grammatically correct and it behaves properly. So we're using that variable of Sky's name in here. And then with the pronoun, it's just all written with the gender pronoun alliance that you're going to use in your game. So in this one, I just did female, she, her. You can obviously have male options. You can disregard gender altogether. You can do whatever you want, but this is just a conceptual example. So we have our flirting pronoun, which is going to use just the pronouns. The flirting name, it's going to use whatever name we give the NPC when we save we save it in a variable. And then of course we have the flirting actual, what the NPC is saying. I should also mention up here that there is no trigger for these common events. So I didn't mention that when I was doing the greetings and the farewells and things like that, but there's no trigger, because what's happening is a map event is calling this common event. Common events can be called by skill usage or things like that. This is not an auto run or parallel. So when we start the game, this common event is not automatically running. It's not running in parallel. It's not automatically running and doing something. It has to be called. So it doesn't need a trigger. It doesn't need a switch. We are deciding when to call this whenever we decide. All right, so we covered the is morning on, is evening on with those switches, which changes the greeting dialogue. And then the only other thing I want to reference here is that when we're in here, you'll notice that you can use that variable that you saved her name in as the name in the show text field. So you can use a variable in a lot of different places in the engine, in the database, and it will basically show whatever the value is in that variable. And this happens to be one of those places. So you could randomly choose a NPC name and then just have the variable in here. And then that way you get that, again, that randomness or different variety of things. You don't have to sit there and name each NPC. You could have a selection of names that are randomly chosen, and you never repeat them unless you want to. And then it's you just use a variable for the NPC that's talking. So that's pretty much it. The map event and showing how it calls a bunch of common events to get what it wants done, and starts identifying the NPC by a name. And we can use that, and then randomly determining whether you're going to have flavor text using a name or a pronoun, whatever variety works for you. You can mix and match. You can do all kinds of crazy things to really get as involved as you want or as immersive as you want. So hopefully this is helpful. Again, we're trying to build on this. I have a couple more dialogue videos coming up, and that will pretty much complete, I think, what I've done so far with Dialog. If this is helpful, awesome. Please leave a comment. Let me know if it's helpful to you. Like, subscribe. My understanding is the more likes you get, the easier it is for people to find your videos. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you'll get notified when new videos are posted. I'm going to try to post fairly frequently. As long as there's enough quiet in my household to make a video, I will try to do that. Anyway, thank you very much, folks. If this is helpful, let me know. If there's any other resources you want to share, you can always drop things in the comment and let me know. And other than that, I hope you all have a great day and happy game making. Thank you, folks.